The Lion, the Fox and the Wolf.
The lion went once a-hunting along with the fox, the jackal, and the wolf. They hunted till at last they surprised a stag, and soon took its life. Then came the question how the spoil should be divided. "Quarter me this stag," roared the lion, so the other animals skinned it and cut it into 4 parts. Then the lion took his stand in front of the carcass and pronounced judgment. "The first quarter is for me in my capacity as king of beasts, the second is mine as arbiter, another share comes to me for my part in the chase, and as for the 4th quarter, well, as for that, I should like to see which of you will dare to lay a paw upon it." "Humph," grumbled the fox as he walked away with his tail between his legs, but he spoke in a low growl. "You may share the labors of the great, but you will not share the spoil."
The Boy in Chains.
A young man had been caught in a daring act of theft, and had been condemned to be executed for it. He expressed his desire to see his mother, and to speak with her before he was led to execution, and of course this was granted. When his mother came to him he said, "I want to whisper to you," and when she brought her ear near him, he nearly bit it off. All the bystanders were horrified, and asked him what he could mean by such brutal and inhuman conduct. "It is to punish her," he said. "When I was young I began with stealing little things, and brought them home to mother. Instead of rebuking and punishing me, she laughed and said, 'It will not be noticed.' It is because of her that I am here today." "He is right, woman," said the priest. "The Lord said, 'Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old he will not depart therefore.'"
The Man and His 2 Wives.
In the old days, when men were allowed to have many wives, a middle-aged man had 1 wife that was old and 1 that was young. Each loved him very much, and desired to see him like herself. Now the man's hair was turning grey, which the young wife did not like, as it made him look too old for her husband. So every night she used to comb his hair and pick out the white ones. But the elder wife saw her husband growing grey with great pleasure, for she did not like to be mistaken for his mother. So every morning she used to arrange his hair and pick out as many of the black ones as she could. The consequence was the man soon found himself entirely bald. Yield to all and you will soon have nothing to yield.
"Be quiet now," said an old nurse to a child sitting on her lap. "If you make that noise again I will throw you to the wolf." Now it chanced that a wolf was passing close under the window as this was said. So he crouched down by the side of the house and waited. "I am in good luck today," thought he. "It is sure to cry soon, and a daintier morsel I haven't had for many a long day." So he waited, and he waited, and he waited, till at last the child began to cry, and the wolf came forward before the window, and looked up to the nurse, wagging his tail. But all the nurse did was to shut down the window and call for help, and the dogs of the house came rushing out. "Ah," said the wolf as he galloped away, "enemies' promises were made to be broken."
The Wolf and the Stork.
A wolf had been gorging on an animal he had killed, when suddenly a small bone in the meat stuck in his throat and he could not swallow it. He soon felt terrible pain in his throat, and ran up and down groaning and seeking for something to relieve the pain. He tried to induce everyone he met to remove the bone. "I would give anything," said he, "if you would take it out." At last the crane agreed to try, and told the wolf to lie on his side and open his jaws as wide as he could. Then the crane put its long neck down the wolf's throat, and with its beak loosened the bone, till at last it got it out. "Will you kindly give me the reward you promised?" said the crane. The wolf grinned and showed his teeth and said, "Be content. You have put your head inside a wolf's mouth and taken it out again in safety. That ought to be reward enough for you. Gratitude and greed go not together."
The Cheese Chase.
A fox once saw a crow fly off with a piece of cheese in its beak and settle on a branch of a tree. "That's for me, as I am a fox," said Master Reynard, and he walked up to the foot of the tree. "Good day, Mistress Crow," he cried. "How well you are looking today, How glossy your feathers, how bright your eye. I feel sure your voice must surpass that of other birds, just as your figure does. Let me hear but one song from you that I may greet you as the queen of birds." The crow lifted up her head and began to caw her best, but the moment she opened her mouth a piece of cheese fell to the ground, only to be snapped up by Master Fox. "That will do," said he. "That was all I wanted. In exchange for your cheese I will give you a piece of advice for the future. Do not trust flatterers."
The sick lion.
A lion had come to the end of his days and lay sick unto death at the mouth of his cave, gasping for breath. The animals, his subjects, came round him and drew nearer as he grew more and more helpless. When they saw him on the point of death they thought to themselves, "Now is the time to pay off old grudges." So the boar came up and drove at him with his tusks, then a bull gored him with his horns. Still the lion lay helpless before them, so the ass, feeling quite safe from danger, came up, and turning his tail to the lion kicked up his heels into his face. "This is a double death," growled the lion. "Only cowards insult dying majesty."
The lion in love.
A lion once fell in love with a beautiful maiden and proposed marriage to her parents. The old people did not know what to say. They did not like to give their daughter to the lion, yet they did not wish to enrage the king of beasts. At last the father said, "We feel highly honored by your majesty's proposal, but you see our daughter is a tender young thing, and we fear that in the vehemence of your affection you might possibly do her some injury. Might I venture to suggest that your majesty should have your claws removed, and your teeth extracted? Then we would gladly consider your proposal again." The lion was so much in love that he had his claws trimmed and his big teeth taken out. But when he came again to the parents of the young girl, they simply laughed in his face and bade him do his worst. Love can tame the wildest.
The lion and the wise fox.
The lion once gave out that he was sick unto death and summoned the animals to come and hear his last will and testament. So the goat came to the lion's cave and stopped there listening for a long time. Then a sheep went in, and before she came out a calf came up to receive the last wishes of the lord of the beasts. But soon the lion seemed to recover, and came to the mouth of his cave, and saw the fox, who had been waiting outside for some time. "Why do you not come to pay your respects to me?" said the lion to the fox. "I beg your majesty's pardon," said the fox, "but I noticed the track of the animals that have already come to you, and while I see many hoof marks going in, I see none coming out. Till the animals that have entered your cave come out again, I prefer to remain in the open air. It is easier to get into the enemy's toils than out again."
The farmer and the lapdog.
A farmer one day came to the stables to see to his beasts of burden. Among them was his favorite ass, that was always well fed and often carried his master. With the farmer came his lapdog, who danced about and licked his hand and frisked about as happy as could be. The farmer felt in his pocket, gave the lapdog some dainty food, and sat down while he gave his orders to his servants. The lapdog jumped into his master's lap, and lay there blinking while the farmer stroked his ears. The ass, seeing this, broke loose from his halter and commenced prancing about in imitation of the lapdog. The farmer could not hold his sides with laughter, so the ass went up to him, and putting his feet upon the farmer's shoulder attempted to climb into his lap. The farmer's servants rushed up with sticks and pitchforks and soon taught the ass that clumsy jesting is no joke.
The lion and the mouse.
Once when a lion was asleep, a little mouse began running up and down upon him. This soon wakened the lion, who placed his huge paw upon him, and opened his big jaws to swallow him. "Pardon, O king," cried the little mouse, "forgive me this time, I shall never forget it, who knows but what I may be able to do you a turn some of these days?" The lion was so tickled at the idea of the mouse being able to help him, that he lifted up his paw and let him go. Some time after the lion was caught in a trap, and the hunters who desired to carry him alive to the king, tied him to a tree while they went in search of a wagon to carry him on. Just then the little mouse happened to pass by, and seeing the sad plight in which the lion was, went up to him and soon gnawed away the ropes that bound the king of the beasts. "Was I not right?" said the little mouse. "Little friends may prove great friends."
The swallow and the other birds.
It happened that a countryman was sowing some hemp seeds in a field where a swallow and some other birds were hopping about picking up their food. "Beware of that man," quoth the swallow. "Why, what is he doing?" said the others. "That is hemp seed he is sowing. Be careful to pick up every one of the seeds, or else you will repent it." The birds paid no heed to the swallow's words, and by the hemp grew up and was made into cord, and of the cords nets were made, and many a bird that had despised the swallow's advice was caught in nets made out of that very hemp. "What did I tell you?" said the swallow. "Destroy the seed of evil, or it will grow up to your ruin."